Hi everyone, welcome to Lights, Camera, Action. I'm Allison Howard and your host for tonight. Today we're going to be talking to 3 actors from the local D.C. Baltimore area, and we're going to find out some new projects that they're working on and how they got into acting. So let me introduce them. This is Anita Moore, Claire Coyle, and Paul Fahrenkopf. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So how did each of you get into acting?
Well, my start came in the early 90s when my sister and I heard it on the radio station. They were trying to fill Camden Yards to film the movie Major League 2. So we thought, oh, this will be fun, something to do one day on a weekend. But we ended up filming every weekend for like 3 months straight, and we loved it. We just had to pretend we were baseball fans, which is not a stretch, so it was fun.
Makes it easy to pretend when you actually are big fans. Do you like the Orioles?
I love the Orioles.
Yeah,
so.
They're a pretty good team. Better than the Nationals. How are you, Claire?
I'm good. I got into acting when I was about 8 years old. My family used to homeschool. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and we homeschooled, and we were part of this big group, so we put on a play, and I got to play this child soothsayer sort of character. It was a whole host of, I forget even what the situation was, but there was a golden cloak and it was lost in a cave, and I was the only one who saw it. So throughout the whole play, I would repeat, "Oh, how it shines!" You know, and my family. There is a home movie, and I will probably never live it down.
It'll become public pretty soon, I'm sure. Don't you, Paul?
First of all, what do you mean the Orioles are better than the Nationals?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Anyway, but
they are more established.
Actually, I started acting in elementary school, a production of Great Expectations. I played Pip, and then in high school was in the local, drama club kind of thing with the school, and then was involved with community theater, which both my parents were involved in, not on the stage, but stage managing, that kind of thing. And then I started out in college. What's the one thing I loved was acting, so I started out as an acting major, but then realized that you weren't really going to get any parts till you were a senior, or maybe if you were a junior, if you were lucky. And I read an article in the New York Times about only 1 out of every 150 actors is working. So I chickened out, and I changed my major to television. Not too big a stretch, but I chickened out of that also. Ended up going to law school, but while I was in law school, in Miami, I had the opportunity to be in Black Sunday in 1977, way back then. This was the movie about the Goodyear blimp attacking the Orange Bowl, so I was one of the spectators that had to run and go, "Oh my God," and start running. And they paid us 2 hot dogs and a Coca-Cola, I think was our pay for that day, but then didn't do anything for 30-some years.
Wow, so you didn't study acting?
Well, I did the first year when I was,
But you ended up going to law school?
I did, because I transferred into the television program.
Wow. So did either of you study theater?
No, I did not study theater. I am a research nurse. I'm an RN, and I am the program director of research quality improvement at the University of Maryland in Baltimore. Wow. So, did not study, but I love acting as my side job.
Absolutely.
So, I was an acting minor in college. I went to a really small liberal arts school, so I majored in biology, but I got an opportunity because it was such a small school, I think, to be involved in theater. So I was doing labs and then running to rehearsal immediately afterwards, and I didn't really get a free moment, but I did do a lot of acting in college.
Wow, that's great. So just goes to show that you don't need to study acting in order to get into acting, which is quite cool. So there's been talk of doing theater, and I know that each of you guys have done film as well. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer theater with a live audience, or do you like film?
Well, growing up, theater was just my niche. I loved it. It's so much fun to get up in front of a live audience. You'll never have the same performance, and you create that moment. It's unique, and it's right there in front of a live audience every time, and I just find that awesome. And film is new for me, but I'm enjoying it so far. I mean, I really like some of the stuff I've done.
Yeah, and you get with theater, you have that camaraderie where you really develop this bond, and you're going through it with these people for weeks and weeks.
Right.
You know, film or TV things, usually it's, you know, a day or two and you meet them and you get close, or an independent film, maybe a longer time period, but you don't really have that closeness you do. The problem for me, I love theater, but the problem is having another job, just the extraordinary amount of time for rehearsals it takes.
Right.
So I've done limited theater recently.
Yes.
And I've only done film.
Oh,
I've never been in a theater production.
Have you ever wanted to do theater and get up in front of a live audience? And
Well, in my job, as a nurse, I get up and I present to researchers, and I tell them all the things to do and not to do in the research field. But, you know, as far as the theater, no, I have not. So maybe.
Presenting is intense, though.
Yes.
We did a little bit of it in college, and I had been doing theater in high school, and presenting was nerve-wracking.
Okay, so theater's not as nerve-wracking.
Well, theater, there's a little bit of, you can kind of ad-lib and get back to the story. Okay. But if you have the wrong information in a presentation,
That's true.
There's a little bit more riding on that, I guess.
A lot riding.
So, obviously, it can be nerve-wracking to get up in front of people and present things or do any theater stuff. But I know that one of the most nerve-wracking things that actors go through are auditions. Now, do you guys remember your first audition?
Yes.
Yes. My first audition was about a month ago, my very first, and it was to be an Orioles fan. I wanted to be in a commercial for, you know, just being a baseball fan, and the director actually asked me to tone it down because I was a little too over the top. My sunglasses flew off my head, and I mean, I just was way too crazy, and I was not selected. So, so it was disappointing. So, but I learned.
Right.
I need to take direction.
It's every audition. There's always an element of learning that you do. How about you, Claire?
Yes, I do remember my first audition. It actually wasn't nerve-wracking at all because I was a freshman in high school and there weren't many people that came out for the play. So, so I was kind of like, oh, jump on these lines and be expressive. Like, I can do that, you know. So that was sort of that naive, like, jump into an audition and not be nervous at all. After that, it got a little more intense. But yeah, that was my first freshman in high school.
Wow. How about you, Paul?
I don't think I remember my first. I remember one of the first ones, though, where it was one of the first ones I had to do a monologue for, and I froze, and I couldn't remember it. And they were very patient and have given me opportunities to do it, and I just froze and couldn't remember the lines. It was horrible, but I came back.
I'm so glad you did.
Thank you.
Now, it's interesting because some people love monologues. For instance, like being able to go and prepare a monologue, and some people prefer sides. Now, do you prefer
sides? Sides. Sides, yes.
100%.
Sides are improv, but yes, the monologues are not my favorite thing.
Yeah. How about you, Claire?
I am becoming more fond of monologues. I like sides because I have some more of a base in improv.
Right.
So it's a little bit more natural to me to pick up a side, but monologues are becoming more familiar to me because it's your own show that you get to present, and you kind of you get to show people, like, here's what I am, here's what I can do, you know. And I'm kind of becoming more fond of the monologue.
I would say sides.
Sides?
Just to feed off of each other in the room.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Now, is there any type of role that any of you have gone out for, or that any of you have played yet, that has been your favorite role so far that you've done? Yes, Claire?
Yeah.
I was Gwendolyn in The Importance of Being Earnest.
Oh, wow.
And just to throw around that kind of dialogue, the wittiness, and the character herself. She's just so, she's the ice princess, but she's quick, and all the dialogue is just so back and forth. I really loved it. That was one of my favorites.
Now, do you prefer, now with the quick dialogue that goes back and forth a lot, it sounds like you prefer comedy.
I definitely lean more towards the comedic side, because there's a lot there's so much you can I don't know, it's almost like a science experiment. You do it and you get a reaction, or you don't, you know.
Right. Something either happens or it doesn't.
Right.
You learn pretty quickly.
Yes.
I think a couple of roles. I had an opportunity several years ago to be in an independent film that is still not released yet, where I got to play a colonel in the Civil War. Oh, wow. And it was a wonderful experience filming up in Essex, Maryland. This was the first, speaking role in what was supposed to be a full-length motion picture, or for the History Channel or something. But, big speech in front of all the troops yelling at him and that kind of thing, riding a horse. Unfortunately, they didn't teach the, they took great care to teach the horses to get familiar with rifle shots, but not with smoke. And the battlefield is full of smoke. It's a Civil War battle, and my horse was supposed to ride up, and it turns around and runs away.
Oh, no.
So they had to, I think they added it in post-production, the smoke, because my horse wouldn't do it. Oh. And another one is, I did recently, you may be familiar with, is The Next Nick, that was just a wonderful situation with a great cast and a great crew. I played the main character's best friend, and the director gave us an opportunity to do some ad-lib things that he seemed to like and keep in, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, saying that you did some improv and ad-libbing, do you prefer having that type of freedom?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yeah. Almost always, yeah. I mean, just being able to stretch things a bit, or if something comes up naturally, and the director being willing to keep it in or listen to it.
Now, how frequently does the director have to go, okay, we have to rein you in now, Paul?
No, not too often. Not too often, but sometimes.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite role was, I was playing a nurse, so I brought my own props to the set.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It was the movie Invasion that was filmed in Baltimore with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. And because I had the perfect props and I had my own nursing outfit on, they put me directly behind Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig for one full day. And that scene was cut, but it was...
Is it on the DVD in the deleted scenes?
No, I looked everywhere. No. But I have a picture with Nicole Kidman, and that was the movie where Daniel Craig was on set, and he found out that he would be the next James Bond. So it was just an exciting time to be on that set.
I'm sure. And of course, being able to recall all of your experiences being an actual nurse, I'm sure that allowed for a lot of familiarity with just movement and everything. That's great.
So it's very comfortable on that set.
I'm sure. Now, is there anything that you guys have had to do with a role that has seemed particularly strange to you?
Mine was just a few weeks ago. They were filming Better Living Through Chemistry, and I was actually cast as a bike racer because I brought a bicycle in. Well, the casting company told me that on set we would not be riding these bicycles, so I actually borrowed a bike that was way too big for me. Got to set, put on the whole bicycle gear, the helmet, and they said, oh no, you're riding. So we were riding through the park of Druid Hill Park, and the bike is way too big for me, and I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to stop.
That is quite a curveball to be thrown, to be told that you're not going to have to ride, and then having to. Wow.
But I did it.
I'm glad.
And you're still with us.
And you're still with us.
I didn't crack. It was fun.
And was it was like a road bike, like a thin-tired racing bike?
Thin-tired racing bike.
Oh,
so
wow.
that should be coming out next year sometime. So I'm curious to see how I will look on film.
I'm curious as well. That'll
the
be
the panic look in my face.
Oh no!
Oh, I know that. I know that biker.
The girl that looks really panicked riding there. That's Anita right there. That's so funny. How about you, Claire? Strange things that you've ever.
Thing. Well, I do a lot of comedy and improv, so it's all pretty strange, But actually the weirdest thing that I ever had to do is most recently I was in a film called Where's My Son?
Kate, what if she doesn't give him up?
She's got to him as his mother.
Well, you can't break into the house. Dan will use that to get full custody.
I'm not leaving without my son.
That a friend of mine was doing for a student his thesis for his MFA. and I had to sit on the other side of a door, and my son was supposed to run out and, "Mommy," you know, give me this big hug, and the kid didn't even know me. And so the very first shot we go to do, I was like, "Hey, sweetheart," and he just, you know, and he just runs the other way.
It's so funny.
It was pretty funny. I saw the clip. It was.
That'd be a great blooper, and it's always interesting when you have to go in and you do have to have, you know, a child, and especially when you're first meeting them, you're trying to get to know them, learn their favorite color and stuff like that, because it's like,
I need you to love me.
I know. We need to get along. How do we do this? Do I give you candy? Like, that'd be a way to do it. How about you, Paul?
Me, well, I can't really describe it in detail, but I did do a horror film for these very talented Baltimore filmmakers where I died a very gruesome and disgusting death, which I had not done before in such a incredibly disgusting fashion.
I did that too. Was
Did
it
you?
Wesco Pictures?
No.
Oh, just kidding.
But a lot of people die in
That's
those
where
movies.
I've seen you. The Missouri Strain.
Yes. You've seen me before in a movie?
We'll have to in the trailer, right?
Probably.
We'll have to talk. So you were killed this very terrible, gruesome death.
Yes, and I really can't discuss it on.
Right.
Things
No.
like, yeah.
But how did you feel about the fake blood? That nice corn syrup.
The fake blood, and then there was the tubing that I had to put in my mouth, and then you know, it was
Tubing?
really. What?
Tubing?
Well, tubing that looked like body parts, perhaps. See, well, this is why I couldn't explain it, but
I'm sorry.
it was gross. It was really gross.
I always find that the fake blood, it's so sticky.
Oh, the carob syrup? Or,
Yes.
Yeah.
Tastes good though.
It does. It does taste good, so it's not all bad, but
Except if you
It's
have
so-
to hold it in your mouth for like 10 minutes before it dribbles out, then it becomes a bit intense.
Yeah.
so this is going to be something that's going to be coming out fairly soon.
No, this is already out.
This is already
This
out.
was in a movie called Witch's Brew
Okay.
by these guys.
Now, do you have anything that you've done recently or that is going to be coming out soon?
That is disgusting? Or
Just
no,
in general.
No, just in general.
In
Oh,
general.
okay. Yes, actually, with those the same Baltimore filmmakers, they're doing a movie in October that I'll
Okay.
be playing a reporter in. And just last week, I did a new investigation Discovery Channel show called Deadly Affairs. I did an episode of that.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, have you had anything come out recently or been doing anything recently?
Oh, you can go first.
Okay, I was going to say The Better Living Through Chemistry will
Yes.
come out next year, but more recently The House of Cards, the Netflix series, filming around the area. I'll be in the first episode. I play the outgoing First Lady, so during the inauguration scene, I'll be the president's wife that is leaving office.
Oh, wow.
So then in episode 5, I play a reporter. So I always have problems when I return to the set of House of Cards because the wardrobe, they're like, you've already been seen.
Right.
So they try to make me look a little different. So from here on out, I'm pretty sure I'm typecast as a reporter.
So do they put you in like glasses and pull your hair back or something to make you look different?
No glasses, just the ponytail look.
Right.
And the suit.
Yes.
You know, and I have the wand, the TV wand.
Of course.
So
That's great. How about you, Claire? Anything you've done recently or we're going to be able to see soon?
Well, Where's My Son should be edited and finished soon. Recently, I was at the Capitol Fringe Festival. I was in this show called Murder.
Yeah.
And it was a blast. It was basically this mansion that Lady Killington and her husband are throwing a party to try to bring themselves back into the core of good society. And they find out that night that all their house staff gets murdered. And so they're all like, oh no, we can't have a party this way. So the whole show is, I got to play this part where whenever somebody walks in, I faint because I'm very sensitive to sudden entrances. So a couple bruises, but that was a lot of fun. It just finished up in, I think the Fringe ended just in July.
That's great. That's really, really cool. I didn't know about the Fringe Festival until this past year, and I went to the preview, and it was great. there were so many
Yeah.
people and everybody was so excited for all of their plays, and it goes on for a long period of time.
It's like a party.
Yeah,
The whole time.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's great. So it sounds like you guys have really enjoyed your time, you know, being on set and on film and all that stuff. So you've obviously been in front of the camera, but are there any other aspects of filmmaking, whether it's pre-production or during production or post-production, that any of you guys would like to go into? Whether, you know, being a casting director or being a director or being an editor, is there anything that you guys have ever thought would be really interesting to try out?
See, I've never thought about that before. I just know that I'm new, you know, even though I've worked doing film since the early 90s. I am only doing this, you know, part-time, you know, around my career, but I just think that I need more schooling and more training, you know, and what to do and how to, you know, complete a personal resume and my headshots and, you know, really to get myself established.
Yeah. So you haven't thought about dabbling in anything? You want to get more
No, I never
camera
thought
time?
about that.
Never thought about it?
It's an interesting question.
How about you?
I would really like to direct eventually. It's a more analytical, like big picture kind of way that you have to operate, and that to me sounds really cool. Just something that my personality, I jump on.
Right. Do you enjoy planning stuff and,
Yes.
you know, you a big list person?
Yes.
How did I know? How about you, Paul?
I was hoping to be a production assistant one day. No, I'm kidding. No, I love production assistants, but with my job being full-time,
Right.
I think, you know, when I get to the point maybe I retire or I work less, I think directing and writing would be interesting to explore.
Yeah. I've always thought that being a director would be so fun. So fun. So now, something that I've always find really interesting to ask actors what is the one thing about the acting profession that people who are not actors don't understand? Or are there any preconceived ideas about it that aren't true that people come up to you and say, well, you know, I heard that, you know, like acting on a set is really glamorous, and it's like, well, actually, au contraire. So has there been any talk like that? Have you ever?
I mean, for me, I have to request a day off of work in order to be a part of the film. So when I go in to request time off, I've had another director actually tell me, oh, how cute, you know, not realizing that it's a big deal, you know, to make a big production. And I think what's difficult, which people don't understand, you may be seen on the film for 5 seconds, but that 5 seconds, it took hours and hours, and you could be on the set, you know, 17 hours straight, and then go home at 6:30 in the morning and have to get up the next day for work. Is a challenge. So they have no idea.
Right.
I just wear a lot of concealer under my eyes. So.
Yeah.
No.
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 Really?
No. 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 I'm sorry.
You've never had anybody come up to you and be like, well, you know, I've heard that, I don't know, like...
No, but I will say this. One thing I've learned is not to tell people you're going to be in something until you're sure they didn't cut the scene and that you've seen it yourself.
Yeah.
And then for me, I have become perhaps one of the most famous bald spots in the Washington, Baltimore area. And if it's only my bald spot that's in it, I don't always tell people about it. Although my old college roommate was able to recognize me in The Wire from just the bald spot, which I thought was very impressive.
That's great.
That is impressive.
And it's coming up in House of Cards also, my bald spot. It's a National Treasure Book of Secrets. Bald spot.
You should make just a resume for your bald spot.
I was going to do just a reel of just of the bald spot shots.
Different angles. Yeah.
Different lighting.
Yes,
that kind
so
of thing.
you can have a variety of looks. You know.
Yeah.
Versatility. It's the way.
Exactly.
You need.
I have a very versatile bald spot also. Yes. Anyway.
I think if I could think of anything, it's probably that it's either too hard or too easy. People kind of, either it's too hard to embrace the psychology of a character, because you really do have to have a lot of empathy for whoever you're playing, you know, but also that it might be, so that's too hard, it's too hard to make a career out of it, when really if you want to work, you know, you just keep submitting, you will get things, you know, or that it's just too easy, like people just think, it's you get up there, you clown around, you know, it's whatever, anybody can do it, right? But then you actually have to like be on the spot and jump in, and sometimes like the auditioning, you're like, just kidding, I can't remember at all what I was even supposed to be doing right now.
Is there any particular type of role that you haven't played yet that you would love to play?
Yeah. Ever since I saw the second Narnia movie, where the opening scene is it's Prince Caspian, I think, and he's on this big black thoroughbred, and I've been riding horses my whole life, so this is a big dream of mine. But he's riding this big black thoroughbred, and he just epically takes off through the woods with his cape flowing, and I really want to do that sometime.
That would be great. You can add that to your bucket list.
Like a big epic film where I'm just the heroine, and maybe like a hawk, you know, like
flying over.
Yeah.
How about you, Paul?
Maybe a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
I've done some comedies, but not romantic guy. So I'd like that.
And I'd like to work with Will Ferrell. I think he would just be a blast to be on set with. My regular job as a nurse is so intense. I would love to just do something fun and just laugh and have him ad-lib the whole
I often
time.
wonder how people keep a straight face with him. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you not crack up every time he's on set with you?
Yeah.
But we should wrap this up. It's been a great interview with you guys, and I've had so much fun talking to each of you and learning about the different things that you guys have done. And I can't wait to see more projects that you guys end up doing later on. So this has been Lights, Camera, Action with Allison Howard, a talk with actors about acting. And I'll see you next week. Thank you.